And we've become so brilliant, and we've become so information rich, but so wisdom poor. We've become information rich, but sacrificially poor. We've become so intellectually rich and information rich and knowledge rich, but sincerely and from a genuine perspective, our pursuit is not there. You know what I mean? Right. So regardless of the fact that some of them read first grade reading level.
Absolutely.
Some of them did not have college degrees. Their pursuit of God was there. Their sincerity was there. And that's why you saw miracles, signs, and wonders. We preach about it. They saw it.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Pastor Email. Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Room. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. For those of you who have been following us and listening to our content, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This conversation today is going to be another one that's going to change your life. I guarantee it. I need you to do me a favor, though. You need to like, you need to comment, you need to make sure you are sharing this. Don't forget to hit that bell so that every time we drop a new video, you are notified. Just be engaging. This conversation is going to be so amazing. We want to see your comments in the comment section, all that great stuff. All right. I'm honored today because y'all don't even know this is a busy dude, bro. Like good busy, not bad busy. This is a good busy dude. We've been trying to collaborate for a while. I am super excited to have in the building and the podcast space for the very first time my brother, my friend, Pastor Alex Williams. Let's make some noise for him. You know, put that applause all around when I say his name. Pastor Alex, how are you, man? What's going on,
bro? Finally,
finally. Who's been in fault? Is it been my fault or your fault? Let's get it all out there.
We blame the devil. The devil's a liar. We blame it all. We blame the devil. We fight it. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood.
Absolutely. But whatever the reason was, I'm glad that everything worked out.
Yes, sir.
Newly married, right? He's showing the bling.
Ring.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm newly married to the powerful Tian Brown, sneaker preacher is what they call her in New York and all over the country.
Williams now.
Not yet. At this moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
Tian, she's changing it.
Changing it.
Okay. Nah, you great. You got me. Tian Williams, the sneaker. Can we still call her sneaker? Okay. So tell me about it though. Like, what is it like? How's it feel being married now, bro? Like, is there a difference? What made you ready to because that's a big step.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get a chance to really flush out our story.
Love it.
Just to think this time last year, December of 2022, we just reconnected.
Wow.
Again.
Okay.
Most people don't know we had been seeing each other on and off, and I think last year, maybe for about 5 or 6 months, we weren't even speaking, not following each other, blocked, all that good stuff.
We all know how that goes.
Oh, y'all already know how it goes. You gotta, if you want to get disconnected, you gotta block them. You can't just. But seriously, we weren't speaking, and then we ended up seeing each other at a service at Bethel Gospel where we actually got married.
Amazing.
Saw each other for service. Somebody prophesied over us and said, you've been running away from each other, but the Lord is bringing you back. And this is this African guy that doesn't speak English,
that
not
don't
in the circle,
know y'all,
don't know us.
Yeah, he following y'all on Instagram.
Exactly.
Right,
First thing he said to me when Bishop Brown called us into the office, he was like, "Grab your wife's hand." And we were like, we wasn't even talking for 6 months. He told grab your wife's hand, and then prophesied to us and told us stop listening to this and that, and the Lord has brought you together for purpose. So the end of November, we saw each other again. December, we went on our first date again.
Do you want to start with where y'all met? I don't like to take credit for stuff. That's not what I do.
God gets the glory, but email gets the credit.
But God uses instruments. You know what I mean?
God gets the glory, but email gets the credit.
Oh, they met here. I'm saying, I remember you saying after we were done, yo, this is the first time I met you. And I just thought that to be so strange because both of you at that point were huge figures in New York.
Yeah.
I think I even said, like, how's that even possible? It was like, we know of each other. We've been at the same space, but we never connected. So that's dope.
That's crazy.
I am matchmaker. My number is 1-800-matchmaker. If you need to be made, I will make you a match.
Come on. He'll light a fresh fire. You see what I did there?
So that's amazing. So you love it. It's
yeah. Just to think, and then everything was quick, man. Met again, dated in December, made it official in March.
Okay.
Got engaged in April.
Got you.
Married in September.
March official, April, like the next month. Or you mean the next?
No, the next month.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. If you hear God, you move.
Yeah,
you know
you move. And we're here.
I love it, man. We honor you both. You both
love you, wifey.
Are so dope.
Thank you,
so honorable. I know you guys are gonna do amazing ministry together.
Thanks, man.
Alex, of course, grew up in the great institutional church. That's one of the legacy churches of New York City, like along with Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Like we grew up in legacy church. And I want to take a moment to let's talk about what that was like.
Yeah.
For both of us growing up in such legacy. First of all, what would you say makes a legacy church so that people understand what we're talking about?
I think that the main thing that makes a legacy church is fruit.
Yeah.
Institutional, and just like Pilgrim is birthed, institution's birthed over 50 ministries. Yeah. You're talking about your Dr. Kevin Bond. You're talking about your Bishop Eric R. Figueroa. You're talking about Reverend A.R. Bernard. You're talking about all these people coming out of one church, and that's not even including the gospel music artist, Pastor Vincent Bohannon, who's now Pilgrim Strong. Pastor Bohannon.
New York, our pastor of music.
Come on.
The boy is so dope. The man is so dope.
Yeah, James Hall, Melvin Crispell, Melvin Crispell III. And so when you see kind of like these branches, J.J. Harrison, Bishop J.C. White, like this is all come out of one place.
Yeah.
And so when you see something that has a seed and a root, and then it grows, and you see its branches being impactful and producing fruit around the world, that is legacy.
And the consistency, I think that has so much to do with legacy too.
Yeah.
You can trace the consistency of our ministries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through every good season, bad season, strange season, we've remained consistent. We remained a church, and that's
strange
so necessary.
Every church got good fruit and strange
fruit. We've just had some stuff going on, especially us here, and but I'm grateful to God that He maintains foundation. What about the pressure? What are some of the things you miss, like about just the way you grew up on your dad, your granddad? Like these are all legendary leaders.
Yeah. Pastor Bohannon and I, and even my cousin K. Sean, we talk about it all the time that we just we had the best childhood. We would see everything, all the gifts of the Spirit being operated every Sunday morning. You see, it was like a show, but in terms of just being exposed to that. And it was normal for us. And so I just kind of miss the fellowship. I miss everybody kind of being together in one place. And obviously the Lord has kind of called us to different things, which is great in itself. But sometimes you just miss the fact that every Sunday morning felt like an event. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I miss most too about growing up at Pilgrim. First of all, the spontaneous, like you just didn't know. You showed up to church and did not know.
I'm telling you
what was going to happen. You didn't know what your pastor, what bishop was going to do, what anybody was going to do, how the flow of service was going to be. I miss that. I miss that so much now. I just miss also having fathers who were connected to the city. If that makes sense.
No,
you know what I mean? And that's why I think I respect and honor you so much, because I think you make it your business to stay connected to so many people. And that's the way we grew up, right? We would take a busload to a church and just like be there. And there's not a whole lot of that going on right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of trying to build separately, which is, I'm not saying that that's bad. I think people do need to take time to build, but we got to figure out how we can do more things like this together as community, especially in New York church, because I think we kind of have a bad reputation out here.
It's real. Isn't it crazy that what connects our cities are bridges, but we all operate in silos? Like literally what connects all us, geographically are bridges, but we don't maintain the bridges.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of doing our own thing. It's a real concept, and it's unfortunate. And I think that there needs to be a bit more collaboration. What I find is, unfortunately, like, in times, if I could just say this, we're not building kingdom all the time. We're building empires, which is kind of separate. Kingdom speaks about collaboration. Empire speaks about me, myself, and I. And so, yeah, there's a very much a lost arc. And that's why I'm so glad that we're even doing this.
Yeah,
Creatives
definitely.
in the room and just collaborating despite your denomination. You know, they had some of those things back in the day, denominational differences, which kind of kept people a little
100%.
Yeah, but I think there was a
100%.
great respect in the fact that there was a collaboration amongst each other and a celebration without, you know, when am I going to get out of it or competition. There wasn't a lot
of cash.
Yeah.
I'll bring you 10,000. You next time bring me 10,000 and $1.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's that day and age. I think that's done. We're no longer interested in that type of stuff. But just really connect the transactional ministry. What about the pressures? You took over. How long have you been senior pastor at institution?
I was a senior pastor. I was installed. Right. Come on. Another reference here.
Come on.
Shout out to Bishop Crow.
Yeah.
She opened up her doors. Our upstairs sanctuary seats about 1,400, but still doing construction and all that stuff. Need some funding. $1.2 million. Elected officials, hear me now. I need $1.2 million to get upstairs. So make it happen. Speaking it, throwing it in the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
But I had my installation here in 2019 that made January would be 5 years, man. I had about 2 years where I was transitioning. So I've been leading the church for 7 years, but official pastor for 5 years.
Wow. What's that been like for you? Like, what's
Hell.
that?
No.
Okay. Nah, that's fine.
Nah, it's so funny. God graces you for the assignment, but it's been tough, man. When the book comes out, I'm working on it now. That may not be the first one. I want to make sure I'm published again.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I tell my story, but seriously, it's been a lot. It's been something that I always knew that it would be difficult because I grew up under two grandfathers who were pastors. My dad was a pastor. And so I've kind of understood the sacrificial calling. Paying my grandparents paid for people's rent, co-signed for things, had people who just got saved living in their basement, understood all that. So that's why I never wanted to do it. But since I came in here, I'm talking about lawsuits I've dealt with, switching of members and taking the church under debt, vandalism. I got attacked when I was preaching one time. Somebody tried to punch me in my face. It's crazy. I got a story, bro.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But overall, in all of that, seriously, I don't want to glorify that. I want to be realistic and transparent. But in all of that, God has shown forth his grace. And I said this to a member earlier today. I said, you know it's God when you don't do it of your own strength.
Absolutely.
You know, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. And so just like the calling of Moses, where he was kind of like showing forth his insecurities and feelings of inadequacy, you know, God says, I see that, but will you still yield so that I can use you? And so it's been literally a place where God has graced me to do it and enabled me the strength to still be creative in the midst of pastoring through a pandemic, through a lost parent, through all of the things that I've been through. But it's a great story. It's a great journey, and the story is yet to be told.
Yeah, but it being institutional has that added to the pressure of, I think, because that's like, I think I wrestle with the most is like, Pilgrim is just not a regular church. Like, because of the history of Pilgrim, I'm always like, I've got this pressure, this unspoken pressure to make sure, not that we do it like our dads, but that we keep it to the same standard, right?
Of course. And the craziest thing, and I was crazy enough to change the name of the church.
Okay. Why are you saying crazy?
Why would I do that?
Why are you?
I did that because the Lord told me. Like,
absolutely.
The Lord told me. And in about 2016, when my father said, you know, I know the Lord has called you. I went on fasting. I prayed, and the Lord showed me a new vision. Gave me, told me that it was a rebrand, a new change in direction, not a change of legacy, not a loss of foundation. But I said, I said to my dad, I said, if I'm gonna take this church, two things need to happen. I have to leave Church of God in Christ, and you have to allow me to update the name. So the Lord showed me an international ministry. I didn't want to just call it that to be fancy. You know, people say.
What was your dad's response? Well, what was that like for him?
He said to me, and this is 2016. He said to me, if this is what the Lord gave you.
I love it, man.
And the Lord showed me I am institutional international ministries. And again, it's not a loss of foundation. Our founder is my grandfather, Chief Apostle Carly Williams Sr. We honor the legacy. We honor the foundation. And I got cursed out. People thought I was crazy. People left. Of course, that all happens. And now people say to me, privately, of course, they can't say it publicly. They'll say to me privately, I get it. I understand.
Right.
You know, that era was that era, but I understand that you're taking the ministry into a new era. And I'm not the first one. Pastor Bohannon changed the name of his church. Pastor David Wright updated them. You know what I mean? So we understand that we're just in a new dispensation. And I knew for the area that God has called me, because he doesn't just call you to something, he calls you to a location.
Yeah.
And so the area that I was in, that our church is in, it needs a broader reach. And so we have people who are Baptists who come to our church, who said I would never join a Kojic church. Mm-hmm. We have Pentecostals, Baptists, Methodists, Catholics, whites, blacks, Hispanics, people clapping on 1 and 3. Praise break happened. They jumping and running. They may not shout, but the Lord told us to go after the lost, not to swap church members. So that's our mission.
So can we tap into the boldness? And I really think we need to spend a moment here, the boldness of just doing what God told you to do. Yeah. Had your dad said to you, that makes no sense, what would you have done?
Then I would have said, then you need to find another pastor.
Honestly, that would have been your...
Honestly. Because I didn't want a pastor. I had some other things that I was doing. I launched my own podcast. Just some things that I had. And I had management. And so I chose pastoring over the management. I had an ultimatum from my manager and said, if you're going to choose this direction, then I can't manage you because I'm not going to be able to have any type of control of your scheduling.
Where does that come from in you though?
What do you mean?
That like, hey, this is what God told me. This is what I want. And if you're going to do opposite of where I'm not going to be involved, like, because people don't have that. I don't think I have that actually. It's just like, I think sometimes it's easier for us to just compromise. Where do you get that from? Where it's like, no, this is what God said. And any other option is like, nah, I'm not messing with it.
No, I mean, that's a great question. It is based on a sense of identity. That, hey, if I'm going to do this, then I have to do it 100%. This is who I am. This is part of my nature. I can't do it halfway. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If I'm not going to do it, I just can't do it. You know what I mean? And I can't compromise vision. Yeah. We can't compromise vision. And a lot of people do it, unfortunately.
Man, can't compromise vision. What is the outcome if we do compromise vision? What happens?
That it's not fully realized. And that you, at the end of the day, get left feeling resentful.
That's where I was hoping you went.
Yeah. Like, you'll look up 10, 20 years from now and say, wow, I wish I went all the way.
Yeah.
You become a little, you have more caution as you get older.
Yeah.
You know,
I heard T.D. Jakes say one of his biggest regrets is that he didn't do everything he wanted to do while he was younger and had the strength to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what hasn't T.D. Jakes done? And I'm like, yo, if this man who has done everything feels like that, what in the world am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like just making sure you're focused enough to say, okay, this is what God has said. This is what I must do. And respecting the voice of God on your life, that's gotta be a feeling.
Well, you're the only one held liable if you disobedient. Like, I can't blame my dad and say, well, you know, right. He said I can only... Oh, I mean, right. It's, hey, if you say that God has called me and this is what God has given me.
Wow.
And it is that vision that has carried me through every single thing. You ask me, how do I it's the vision that God gave me. That's what I hold on to, what I heard, not even currently what I see, but what I saw.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Like, and if I don't operate based on what I saw, what he told me, and you're trying to present something to me that does not look like what God told me, then I can't do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't make the assignment easier, right?
No.
That's something I think I messed with. I thought if I do what God says, it'll feel fine. Like, I'll feel good. It'll be No, for real. Like, have you ever felt like, okay, all I have to do is obey God, which you do, but then you expect to feel good when you obey God. But that's not always what it feels like. You know what I mean? There are moments of frustration and you just say, but I'm doing what you told me to do. So why do I feel frustrated in following instructions? Why are bad things or what seemingly feels like bad things happening when I just followed instruction?
That's crazy. The very gates of hell shall not prevail. But there's a rock, there's a church, there's an assignment, but there's gates of hell. It won't prevail, but it doesn't mean it's not present.
Yeah. Wow. Won't prevail, but it's present.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, don't do it. Let's just
come on. I feel a praise in a podcast room.
So with all that you have seen, all that you have experienced, right? And I think that you and I I think that we are some of the most progressive leaders in our city.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
You're a singing pastor. I'm not a singing pastor, but I am a leader in my own right. I'm creative
Come on,
in
man.
my own right. So
Can I say this? Can I interrupt your podcast
What's
so that
up?
all the viewers can? I just appreciate the gift that's in your house. I say that with no convention talk. You guys have a progressive leader, somebody who thinks out the box and has been unapologetic for his creativity. So can y'all just show some love for
I
my
appreciate
brother?
that,
Seriously,
bro.
I
appreciate
say
that.
We see you from afar. We see you from a close. We purchased the book. Those who really support, we purchased the book.
Yeah.
We subscribe. We support. Because we believe in you, man.
Yeah, and it's so he's not just saying it too, because he'll reach out and be like, yo, bro, I saw your sermon Sunday. Like that was like, so that's one of the things I've always honored about you is that your consistency, your sincerity too. So yeah,
Thanks,
I
bro.
appreciate that.
Love
I
you,
really
man.
do try. I try to stay focused, and I think I'm in a really interesting season where I'm just trying to, you know.
Yeah. To see and navigate what's next.
Yeah, and be still, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just hear better when you're still.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm in a very different space. Whatever. So so
Let's touch and agree right now in Jesus' name with the Lord.
I want at the end of the day, I want it to be known about me that I do honestly want to do what God's called me to do.
Yeah.
I'm not with the frustration around it, if that makes sense.
And that's not a lot of people's desire, man. There's a lot of people that desire likes, following, influence. Understanding that saying yes to God comes with all of that. But the meek inherit the earth, man.
Yeah.
And it is something about those who are really sincere about the calling of God, that God is the greatest rewarder.
Yes, sir.
And them who diligently seek him.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
It's that seek part that we're missing.
Yeah.
Because we want a reward, but it's seeking that we're missing. And that means seeking means sacrificing.
I'm telling you.
Seeking
That's
means
a message.
Like for real. I wasn't expecting that. You got to deny yourself. You got to really take a moment and go, yo, that feels so good to me, but is it good for me? Right? And that's where I've been is this, there are certain people, connections. I'm like, if I made that connection, it would be good to me, but is it good for me? Is it going to be beneficial to me? Is it going to help the spirit man that I'm trying to cultivate to be what God's called me to be?
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that is one thing that I would say is different from today's church.
Okay.
And just the past church. What we would see with our ancestors, right? You would see their desire to pray and seek after God. And some of it was dogmatic. I know I grew up with grandparents that didn't go to the movies because they felt like they were sitting in the seat of the scornful. They didn't
really?
Bro, I couldn't listen to secular music come up. And so regardless to the fact that it was dogmatic, it was sincere. Their desire was to please God. Even if it meant not doing this, some things that obviously we look at now like, oh, this doesn't make sense. It's not biblical. They wear skirts and wear this. And it wasn't just it was really sincere. Like, we want to please God. And if we're doing anything that does not please God, then we don't want to do it. Yeah. And we've become so brilliant and we've become so information rich, but so wisdom poor. We've become information rich, but sacrificially poor. We've become so intellectually rich and information rich and knowledge rich, but sincerely and from a genuine perspective, our pursuit is not there. You know what I mean? Right. So regardless of the fact that some of them read first grade reading level.
Absolutely.
Some of them did not have college degrees. Their pursuit of God was there. Their sincerity was there. And that's why you saw miracles, signs and wonders. We preach about it. They saw it.
Wow.
We preach about it. It's manifested in their services.
Yeah.
Because there was a sincerity there that it's just not
there. That's so interesting. Yeah. So would you say that is the foundation that our leaders our age or the up and coming New York, are you saying that should be the foundation of where we should?
Yeah, man. As much as things change, things need to stay the same. Going after the lost, evangelizing, prayer, foundation. And it's like working out. It's like getting in shape, right? Like the ingredient, it doesn't change. I don't care if you have a machine that you put in your stomach and it causes abs, or you have this new pill that comes out. Nothing changes but the principles of eating right and exercise. Yeah. Like that's foundation.
Right.
And for us, principle, according to our faith, evangelism, prayer, fasting, worship, like the word of the Lord, like that's foundational. And so as innovative as we become, we cannot forget the foundation, the pillars, the principles, and the values that are God's principles, not church principles. It's kingdom principles.
And that's one of the biggest differences too, is you look up things that we grew up on and you're like, that wasn't scripture preference, that was leadership preference. And then we can't even really re-preach it because it ain't in there. You know what I mean? And that's not just honoring those who came before us. That's just coming to a greater understanding of what they may have not known. You know what I mean? So let's shift to this, because you said innovation. You've seen a lot. You've been through a lot. You've been pastoring. You are innovative. You are creative. What do you think is needed as we go forward? What direction is the church, or should the churches be going into?
I'm going to say this, and it's not going to be popular. I think that the church needs to go back.
Okay.
So you notice that the reason why people go back is to get some glimpse of what propelled them forward in the beginning. Unfortunately, there is a need to go back because there's no vision for the future. If you notice that even in politics, anytime people go back, it's because you need to find something to help you navigate, make America great again. There's all like these themes of going back, because...
block that out.
I'm not promoting... I
don't even want that on my...
I'm not promoting... 45. I don't even say his name. I don't promote 45, but what I'm using that as an example is to say that when people don't have direction, they pull back and go back to what brought them over. You know what I mean? It's so funny that we're talking about this. Bishop Carlton Pearson, when he came out with the Azusa conference, it was a reference back to what happened in 1906 with Seymour, William J. Seymour, in the original Azusa movement. Mm-hmm. And what Bishop Carlton's movement was to try to figure out, how do we get that glory back? Mm-hmm. How do we get back where whites and blacks worship together, where miracle signs and wonders occurred? And you had to kind of go back. And I think for us, what's missing is learning, using our innovation, using our knowledge, using our intellect and the intel that we have, but utilizing that principle. Are we really evangelizing? Mm-hmm. Are we just preaching to the same people? Are we, we used to see Arturo Skinner do crusades. Yeah. We used to see Bishop Roy Brown take over the Brooklyn Bridge. We did a Brooklyn Bridge, a prayer walk in 2019. It wasn't anything new. Right. It was what Bishop Roy Brown had already done. Right. It seems innovative. Baptism in the street, we've done. That's nothing new. Mm-hmm. And so when we see the principles of evangelism, I think that our church stopped growing because we don't do evangelism. The statistic says that 80% of the people who live in this world are not Christian, are not saved. 80% of people are not Christian. There's an even larger percentage of people who are not saved. But 80% of people are not Christian in this world, yet we're fighting over the same people. Preaching to the same people, ministering to the same people. What's missing from today's church is understanding what worked back then, which is evangelism.
Do you think there is, and this is an honest question, do you think there is a danger, though, in assuming that we have to go back to figure out how to move forward? Joseph Walker said something I think is so powerful. He said, tradition is just frozen success. And a lot of times we're still just trying to figure out, how do we get what we already did instead of figuring out what should we be doing?
Right. And so when I'm speaking about the reference back is not necessarily doing what they did, but principle.
Okay. The why.
The principle, the foundation. So the Bible says the Great Commission, because even we reference text and scripture, which is our navigation for what we should be doing. We should go into the highways. Hedges, compel men. And so that's the one thing that I believe. We have great social media. We have great branding. We have clothing lines. We have streaming. We got lights. We have fog machines. But where's the evangelism?
So we're using it in the wrong way.
Where's the hunger for the souls, man?
Got you.
Where are many of our pastors will walk out their buildings and their community doesn't even know them.
Yeah. 100%.
Like, you go down the street that people don't know. When Bishop Roy Brown would walk out, everybody knew who he was.
We would sit in restaurants and people would come and be like, Bishop. Like, how do you know? Like, I don't know these people.
And then it wasn't just because of the grandeur or because of good branding. That was because his church went out. and brought them in.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about, going back to evangelism specifically.
Right.
You know, not for the sake of building your name, your brand, but he says, if I be lifted up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's text.
I'll draw.
That's Bible, yeah.
I'll draw. And so I think that, you know, in order to see a freshness in our church, we need fresh people.
Yeah.
We need fresh blood. We need the unchurched. And how do you get that? By going after them. Evangelism.
Yeah.
I know it's not popular.
No, I understand it. I think you're right. There's not enough of that going on.
Yeah.
I just sometimes become weary because I'm like, I want us to be sure that we are always, Archbishop Hudson teaches this to us, you have leaders, real leaders are always thinking forward.
Yeah.
If you are considering yesterday, then you are already a year behind.
And it doesn't mean that we need to do it the way they did it.
Right.
It just means that principle.
And I think that scares people.
Yeah.
That's like a dishonorable.
We don't have to,
That's not like a dishonoring thing. Is we can't do it the way.
Yeah, bro. I'm sitting here, a senior pastor, got earrings in my ear. I'm clearly not.
We do not condone. We do.
If y'all see Pastor email with earrings,
this pocket. My ears are too big for that.
No, I'm saying, so I'm not going to do it the way my grandfather did it, my father did it, but I understood that institutional was great because through music, they did evangelism.
Yeah.
I may not, and so the thing is, the way God has called me in the ministry that I lead, it may not come through music.
Right, I got you.
Like it did,
man. But that's
in 1970.
Alex. That may seem like you're just talking, but you are so tapping in. Hey, I'm doing it the way I've been called to do it.
Yeah.
Music may not be my thing, even though he sings and had a group and all that. He's being modest, but that may not be. It's the way you're doing, which we're going to discuss in a minute with politics and all that other stuff and reaching. But you have to figure out what God is calling you. What is the way that God is calling you to do it?
Yeah.
That is so powerful. So evangelism is definitely something that we need to do more of. And I think practical conversation is so necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary.
For pastors to be able to gather in a room and just be able to talk to each other. Hey, what's going on at institution? Like, what's happening at the church? Like, let's just have more conversations. Sometimes we don't have conversations because we feel like they're challenging.
Yeah.
You may challenge my belief. You may challenge what I'm doing at my church. When conversation births understanding.
Yeah.
You have conversations so that we can understand each other, because when you understand each other, you live better together. You know what I mean? How about
if I share my information, you may advance me.
Yeah.
And that's to talk about the ugly truth.
Yeah, that's 100%.
If you tell me the information, I want to make sure that I'm doing this. You know, I was at a meeting today, a political meeting today, and you had, you know, your attorney general there, your senator there, council people there. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to a young pastor and I was like, hey, you know, one of my brothers, I said, you need to be at this thing because I think that your church could benefit. There's resources that your church can benefit from. We don't do that.
Nah, but you do.
We all need to do that.
Yeah.
Because somebody did it for me.
Right, gotcha.
You know what I mean? So if nobody pulled me in, then I wouldn't know. So, you know, you have to extend that same grace.
Yeah, and Alex is so good for that. I was at went to a Gracie Mansion only because Alex invited me. And he's like, bro, I know you. I know you're not going to want to come. just
and he stood in the back the whole time.
I sure did. Because it's just not my space. But I was like, I thought it to be so dope that you at least thought of me to be there. And I did connect with some people.
Yeah.
Connect with Brandon Watson, like other guys in the city. I thought that was so. I would have never made those connections if I had not gone. But just knowing where you flourish is so important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To God be the glory. Yeah. The mayor's been trying to do this since he was borough president. And so finally they said, hey, I need you to get 40 pastors under the age of 40 in the room. And so we worked to do this. And we knew that New York operates in silos. You have your Pentecostal, charismatic circles. You got your CCM. You got the Baptist circle. So everybody's kind of, you got women who are empowered. And so it was just kind of like, it was an opportunity to bring us together. It ended up being 80 pastors under 50. but we got the gist. But yeah, and just like what you're saying, like to be able to have a place where you can share and grow and still trying to foster those relationships is difficult because we're all doing our own thing, but we must make the time for community.
Yeah. Evangelism, community, all that stuff is tied in.
Yeah.
And we're not changing the message of Jesus. I promise
not
you.
At all.
I promise you, I believe in Jesus with my whole heart. That is not what we're trying to do, but we're trying to adjust the methods of how we get to him.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the why we want to be with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a message that we're not really.
The why.
Yeah, the why.
Start with why.
Why do you want to? Why should you want to be with Jesus?
Yeah.
Because he's worth it, and because he keeps his word. And that's where I was this week. Like, God was like, "Hey, I said something to you, and if I said it, I'm gonna do it."
Sure.
there's not a whole lot of negotiation. I don't need to talk to you about it. I said it. And when I said it, it actually already came out of my mouth, established.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's great.
I'm just there.
Yeah.
I'm just there.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of have a witness in our spirit that you can trace. Go back to your memory bank. God gives us memory for a reason, so that we can kind of pull from that and say, okay, I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had me in the last situation, so I know you got me in the future.
Yeah. He's never let you down. He's never disappointed you.
That's the second praise break in the podcast room. I see you.
Man,
I love
the Lord.
Bubbling
and
up.
There's nothing about when you're really in a relationship with God, the way he checks you.
I'm telling you.
Like, what are you talking about? Why are you talking like that? Why are you saying it? Did I ever say anything? Did I ever not do what I said I was going to do for you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where I am in this season. That's what I was trying to articulate. That's what I was trying to articulate before, because that other moment's going to be like, what was wrong with Pastor Emo? Was he about to cry? But I'm just saying, I'm in a moment where I love God so much that I just want to continue to trust what he said he's going to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Alex is one of those leaders who knows how to reach people, and he's in all types of rooms. He's connected to the mayor. He's connected to senators and all these organizations. That's something I think is a little different also from when we grew up. I don't know, maybe was institutional like that?
No, specifically institutional was the type of church where everybody just came to them. But they did great evangelism through music. But it wasn't intentional, and they weren't necessarily politically driven.
Yeah. We were never like that. We just, like, you didn't know your pastor's affiliation, his party. Like, we just didn't know that type of stuff.
But my other grandfather was.
Okay.
So my mom, I saw both of my grandfathers were Kojic bishops. Come on, you can't join it. You got to be born in the Church of God in Christ. Both Kojic bishops. My grandfather was just different on my mom's side. Like, he was connected to every mayor. You know, he had a business. Also, he had a street named after him while being alive, which is
so rare. You saw both sides of it.
Yeah, so that was very different. While Bishop Williams was Chief Apostle Williams, you know, brilliant mind, brilliant in areas. I mean, this guy was my grandfather spoke several languages.
And he was such a cultivator of leadership.
Yeah, spoke different languages. Preached, taught, was an amazing pastor, amazing visionary, dreamer. In that respect. And then, of course, the preaching ministry, the music ministry flourished. On the other side of my family, my other grandfather was more community-oriented and cleaning up people who were addicts and different things like that, had tent revivals, operated more in the supernatural, miracles, signs, and wonders, but very politically driven, where he had influence. And the street, he pastored on a Martin Luther King Street. You know, every Martin Luther King Street in the country. Crazy, terrible.
It's the blackest street in the world.
I'm telling you.
I don't care where you at.
But that street was on lockdown. Drug dealers knew, you know, Reverend Knight is there. Yeah, it was just different. And so he garnered the respect of politicians, and he collaborated with them. So it was two different spheres of ministry. So I saw two different things growing up, and I take from both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you say to people who just don't feel like that has any business in the church? That we shouldn't be mixing, that there should never be any politics. I'm sure you come across that.
Of course.
So what do you say to those people that say politics and pulpit don't mix?
Yeah. Then you don't know the history of the church.
Okay.
Let me tell you this. The black pastor is the hardest working man or female in the world. I think it's listed as the fourth most difficult occupation in the world, because you have to be 5 things. If you're a black pastor, historically. Can we talk?
Yeah, absolutely.
5 things.
Ready.
Number 1, you have to be theologically brilliant. You have to be a scholar. That's what the expectation is, right? You have to be a scholar. Number 2, you have to be a prolific speaker, right? This is what our community is expecting of the black pastor, that when you open your mouth, you shake the world. Number 3, you got to be a therapist, counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist. You got to care about the needs of people. You have to connect with them, right? And help to solve people's problems. This is the expectation. Number 4, you have to be a CEO, a master business person. You have to know branding, marketing, business, taxes. You got to know all that stuff. And number 5, you got to be a community activist. You have to be socially conscious. That's the expectation. That's the expectation historically of the black pastor.
Okay.
Because our people are disenfranchised, right? Whoa. Our people have always been in a place where they've needed the pastor to be all things to all men, right? And so there's an expectation that, and operating in those 5 areas. And so the reason why, The reason I was talking to a colleague of mine who works in the secular industry, they said the reason why the church is not respected, the reason why the church doesn't get the funding that it used to.
That part.
Yeah, because they'll fund nonprofits, but not religious corps. The reason why the churches don't get the same things we used to get is because our impact in the community has lessened.
Wow.
Our impact among city officials, they don't respect us because we don't hold them accountable because we're not visible.
Yeah.
And so for people to kind of feel like you don't, and I'm not saying you need to know everything that's happening. You need to be running for mayor. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you need to have people in your church that's keeping you informed, that's keeping you engaged, that the community knows your name, they know what you're doing, you're serving the community, not just your own interests. You're not just having church, but beyond your four walls, there is influence and impact. That's what the community is looking for.
Yeah.
That engagement.
Yeah.
And without that engagement, you're not relevant.
Right.
And so I'm not saying that you need to be running for city council. But you need to have somebody in your church that does know what's going on.
Right.
That keeps you in the loop, that says, hey, this is program happening, pastor or pilgrim or institutional. Y'all need to be a part of what's happening because the community is involved. That there's an uproar here. Your voice needs to be present.
Yeah. Is there any truth in the understanding is like a lot of people, pastors back in the day didn't want to be connected because they felt like if we got funding, it meant they would have to dictate to us when we have our doors open or who we let into our church? Or is there any truth to that?
I think there's a feeling based on misinformation.
That's a thing.
That's why we have institutional international ministries, and then we have institutional cares. Praise God. You got two separate entities that do two separate things. But I think that is also a misinformation. What you would find back in the day is that, unfortunately, based on your denomination, it is based on kind of like where your focus is. If you're more charismatic, you're more focused in on miracle signs and wonders. And if you're kind of the Baptist, Methodist, AME, then you're into politics and you're kind of ingrained. Okay. But I just feel like we can be all things. Yeah. I just believe that this is the time where the church needs to be. And again, have somebody informing you, have somebody in your church that is connected. If your assignment is as apostles or pastors, of course, our main focus is saving souls, to preaching and teaching, but you also need to be impacting community.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. And that's the purpose of Politics meeting pulpits, so that we can impact community.
Yeah.
And you gotta reach. I think it was Joseph Walker too. He was just like, your church should look like your community.
It should.
If you're in a neighborhood where there's a diversity of people, why is there only one type of person in your church? Because you're not reaching out. Yeah. There is no evangelism. There's no community impact. So it's incredibly important. What's next for you? Besides running for mayor 2028. What's next for you? What's next for your church? And then I want you to let everybody know where we can find you.
Sure. A couple of things that we're doing. Really exciting. We're actually working on a rebrand for next year. The name is changing. It is not changing. Everything is staying the same. But our look of our church is changing. This is Easter Sunday. We'll be relaunching in terms of branding, right? Okay. The facing. My wife is coming on board next year. So March 31st, which is Resurrection Sunday of 2024, you can expect new logos, new this, new that, all that stuff. So that's happening. I'm really excited about that. Our app has launched. Well, no, it's launching. Yeah, it's launching this month, which I'm excited about. We're on the Apple Store right now, about to get on Google Play. So that's amazing.
What you on Google for? We just do Apple.
For some people.
We got all the scenes in my journey.
But you notice we did the Apple first.
Yeah, because Apple cares. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So I see what you did there. So no, the app is launching at the end of the year. So I'm really excited, man. The app is we're still kind of going through going through some working things out with what we wanted to look like and stuff like that. But currently, it's pretty much done.
Love it.
And so, yeah, we got a lot of stuff that's happening. Really excited about what God is doing, man.
Where can we follow you? Where can we support you?
Come on. You can follow me personally. I am _Alex Williams, IG.
Just
Facebook.
follow him. Don't be in his DMs because he's a married man.
Come on, G.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go
ahead. Facebook, Pastor Alex Williams. In terms of the church, keyword I am church everywhere. Love Facebook, it. IG, TikTok, YouTube, our website, iimchurch.com. So yeah, church is everywhere. And the
church is everywhere. That should be a new thing, man.
Come on, I love it.
Church is everywhere.
Church is everywhere.
Any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave with the people?
Yeah. I get real passionate and worked up. I almost had to take off this jacket when I was talking. But I really, my prayer for our city is, like you said, that we'll come together.
Yeah, man.
Sincerely support one another.
Yeah.
Understand that ministry is bigger than ourselves, but there's a whole world that needs saving.
Yeah.
We don't have to fight over members. We don't have to fight over people who come to your church. And there's millions of people in New York,
literally,
that need to find Jesus. So, tell the world about Jesus.
Yeah, give them a place to find them.
Come on.
That's it.
Come on. Yeah.
Alex, Pastor Alex, I love you, man. I appreciate you. Bro. Appreciate your genuineness, your connection, your consistency with me. And nothing but the best for you and your ministry going forward.
Thank you, brother.
I love y'all for watching. We probably gonna still be talking because you know what I mean? But I love y'all for watching.
Can I do one thing?
Yeah.
Can y'all just say, watch God work?
Watch God work.
Watch God work. That's our proclamation.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, watch God work.
Yeah. Take that with y'all. Put that in the comments. Watch God work.
Yeah.
Whatever you're expecting, watch him work.
Yeah.
Work it out. I love y'all so much for watching. Remember to share out this broadcast. Comment, like, share, hit that bell so that you can follow us and stay up to date. I love y'all so much. Until next time, I'm Pastor Email. This is the Podcast Room. Later.
Oh, this is crazy being back here.